Meetings taking place on the sidelines of the SCO Summit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the latest one now between Prime Minister and the Myanmar junta chief, the senior general, in fact, leading the delegation from the Myanmar side. And both the countries have had this bilateral, with Prime Minister leading this bilateral. Myanmar remains a key partner for India's strategic interest in the region, and in that context, this becomes an important meeting. These visuals which came out just a short while back of Prime Minister meeting the senior general representing the junta, in fact, in Myanmar, and this also an important meeting with respect to India-Myanmar relations. All right, what we'll do before we start getting into details of that very important bilateral that took place between India and China, let me first go across to my colleague Gauri Dwivedi and Aditya Rajkol, those who are in Tianjin, covering this entire SCO Summit for NDTV, bringing us a ringside view of what's happening there. Gauri, the meeting, the bilateral between India and Myanmar, also an important one, given how important Myanmar's role is as far as a strategic partner with India.
There are three very important aspects with regard to Myanmar, Ankit, and which is the reason why this visit is and this bilateral meeting that is taking place right now is very significant. Now, India is, as far as the instability in Myanmar is concerned, it has a direct impact on our entire northeastern belt. It also has an impact on the Siliguri corridor that connects mainland with the northeast. So to that effect, the political and military instability that has been there in Myanmar for some time now has a direct impact on India. Now, add to it the fact that there has been a lot of political turmoil in Bangladesh in the last 1 year. And the fact that Bangladesh is a key hub in terms of the entire connectivity area between India, Myanmar, and the northeastern region as a whole does mean that India needs to engage more directly with Myanmar going forward, which is the reason why, in fact, there were also reports that were coming in about a potential corridor being created via Bangladesh with regards to Rohingya refugees as well, another area that impacts India very significantly. So this meeting that is taking place right now between India and Myanmar on a bilateral level has two very important objectives. One, and the core objective being to stabilize any potential Rohingya refugees that may come in further from Myanmar through the entire corridor. The second important aspect is to secure our security concerns, terror-related concerns here, given the political turmoil in Bangladesh. And the last and equally important point is that China has been making deep investments in Myanmar. There is a China-Myanmar economic corridor that has got a fresh lease of life and a fresh fillip with more investments and funds coming in. India does not want to not have a play in this because this impacts directly its neighborhood, and which is the reason why this meeting right now gains that much significance.
Aditya, a word from you on this as well, because since 2021, when the military took over, as far as the government in Myanmar is concerned, India has always expressed its concerns and has also said that Myanmar should return to democracy as soon as possible. And this is coupled with the challenges of the border, the smuggling of the drugs, and of course insurgent groups which get backing in Myanmar. Recently we saw an operation by the Indian Army very close to the Myanmari border as well.
Well, that's right. At least there have been 3 to 4 major operations in the last decade around Myanmar, if has to be said. But overall, I would say that security is of paramount significance in the border areas, just like Gauri pointed out. That insurgent groups have been using the territory of Myanmar against India, and that certainly cannot be allowed. So Rohingya issue and the security concerns from insurgent groups that Myanmar land should not be used against India would be the top priority in this particular bilateral that has already begun about 15 minutes ago, in which the top general from Myanmar is meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Of course, India had been the votary of democracy in Myanmar. India had built in great relations with Aung San Suu Kyi, who was the democratic leader. imprisoned for a very long time. And she, in fact, had studied from the Delhi University. So clearly, there were very deepening, strong democratic ties between India and Myanmar, and that needs to be, continued. There needs to be continuity. There needs to be trade as well. India also has come to the rescue as a disaster relief force, has helped Myanmar in a great way. And overall, in the Act East policy of India, Myanmar plays a very, very significant role as a neighbor. And, the entire Northeast is connected with Myanmar, and therefore, the refugee crisis and the Rohingya elements can play a security nightmare for India, even though we have a very robust mechanism at the border, but that would be discussed threadbare.